Welcome to Endurance Strong. Here we continue our deep dive into training zones for endurance athletes. Enjoy. While training in Zone 5 worked on our ability to use oxygen for energy, training in Zone 6 works on our ability to create energy in the absence of oxygen. In this zone, you are going so hard that you need energy quicker than it could be produced with the use of oxygen. Energy is produced through anaerobic, i.e. without oxygen, glycolysis, which can produce energy quicker but in shorter supply, meaning that you can only rely on this energy system for up to 3 minutes. Thus, intervals in Zone 6, which targets improving your anaerobic capacity, are 30 seconds to 3 minutes in length. The intensities for Zone 6 for each sport for functional threshold pace and power, functional threshold heart rate, and rate of perceived exertion are all shown here for those of you watching the video. For those listening to the podcast, they will be on the corresponding article on EnduranceStrong.com. Since these intervals are even shorter, the percentage of FTP continued to be a guide, as you should rely on feel as well. Like Zone 5, if you are going as hard as you can for 30 seconds to 3 minutes, you are likely in Zone 6. Watching your power or pace too much during these intervals could distract you from giving your hardest effort. Instead, if on early intervals of your workout you fade too much by the end of the interval, then you know you're going a bit too hard and should go a bit easier on the upcoming intervals. Heart rate will not respond quick enough to be an accurate gauge of effort on this short of an interval, so it shouldn't be used. If heart rate is the only metric you have to gauge effort, then use rate of perceived exertion instead. The intensity range for Zone 6 is bigger than other ranges, as you can clearly go a lot harder for 30-second intervals compared to 2.5-minute intervals. Hence, the shorter interval, the higher in Zone 6 you will be, and vice versa. Inversely, the recovery between these intervals will be longer for the shorter, harder intervals, and vice versa. In general, recovery should be 3 to 5 minutes between Zone 6 intervals, with a 1 to 2 plus work to recovery ratio, i.e. at least twice the duration of the interval. For example, 2-minute intervals in Zone 6 will require at least 4 minutes of Zone 1 recovery between them. We say at least twice the length of the interval because these should be a little more based on feel. By that, I mean you should feel fully recovered between these intervals and able to go just as hard for each interval. So if you need to recover a little longer to make this happen, then you should. Just like previous intervals, you should pick a route free of stop signs and stoplights, but now it's more imperative that the route doesn't involve any downhill sections, since the intervals should be intense, and a downhill section wouldn't allow you to get every last bit of intensity out of the interval. Short and even somewhat steep hills would suit these intervals well. In fact, I like the combination of Zone 6 and hill workouts. The hills help you make them even more difficult, which they should be, and a lot of races have short punchy hills that usually require a little spike in effort. This could be performed on a single hill, with recovery being on the way back down to the bottom. Picking a route with a variety of short to medium length hills along the way that take 30 seconds to 3 minutes to get up, and going up them hard, is another way I love to implement a Zone 6 workout, as it gives you a bit of variety and would be more similar to real-world races. Just make sure to fit in some recovery in between the hills so you can maintain intensity during your intervals. Lastly, for running, these could be 200, 400, or 800 meter repeats on a track with an equal duration or distance walk-jog for recovery between. Continue learning about Zone 7 in the video here.